This conversation is presented by xoTO and the City of Toronto and originally premiered in person at Canadian Film Fest 2026. Canadian Film Fest kicked off our 2026 industry series with the following conversation: Small Crews, Big Worlds, Evolving Tools for Indie Filmmakers. It's a discussion about how creators are building ambitious work with lean teams in a rapidly shifting industry. From new production pipelines to the creator economy, this panel dives into real strategies for working smarter, scaling creatively, and sustaining a career in film in today's landscape. Cheers Jordan Walker, Tanya Stemberger, Jordan Crute, Navin Ramaswaran, and Rhys Yorke. Welcome to the fest.
Awesome. So just before I introduce our distinguished panel, I wanted to ask a question. I wanted to ask if anyone here feels like things are moving way too quickly. Like you're always behind the next trend, the next technology, the next advancement, that you just want to yell stop and pull the cord so you can catch up a little bit. Does anyone feel that way about the world right now, especially the creative world? Not as many as I thought, so that's good. So whoever doesn't feel that way, please let me know what your secret is, because I feel that way all the time, and I'm doing this. I'm doing this every day, and I definitely feel that way. But I want this talk to really be about how we can utilize technology to bring projects to life that might not be possible otherwise, or to take projects that would normally be considered small and to breathe new life into them and make them feel as big as the massive budget projects. And I think that's why we're at an exciting time right now. There's never been the tools in the filmmaker's hands like today that can allow you to really bring your vision to life. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And I want to, at any point, you can put up your hand if you have a question. You don't have to wait for the end. If you have a question that might be relevant, put up your hand and we can ask that then, because I like this to be as interactive as possible. So first of all, I'll introduce our panel. That is Tanya. She's the co-CEO of Immersion Room. Immersion Room's an absolutely, they call it bleeding edge, technology company that runs a virtual production wall in Downsview Park. And I've shot 6 television commercials there, and they're amazing. They understand it in a way that it's almost like they wrote the software, but they actually did write the software to power the wall. So they understand it at a level that I can't even contemplate. Beside Tanya is Jordan Crute. He's an editor. I've worked with Jordan for a long time. We went to the CFC together in 2012. And since then, we've worked on a lot of projects together. He's done a lot, obviously, on his own, from TV to film. He's kind of done it all. And recently, he's been working and trying to test his hand at actual software programming to see if he can get build some tools that would be helpful for all of us. And beside him is Navin, a filmmaker, an editor, director. Round of applause, please. Yeah, exactly. I feel like he's a familiar face at Canadian Film Fest. He's exactly, very much so. Yeah, exactly. And he just finished a series which they made with a crew of 6 people. So it's very apropos of what we're talking about today. Just that would not have been imaginable, 10 years ago. And so the fact that you can do something like that and it can look, like $1 million is really saying something. And then Rhys had an introduction from Warren. So that's it. Oh yeah, my name is we'll give Rhys some applause. I've been a hyphenate in this industry for a while, producing and writing at the beginning, and now I've directed some commercials, and I'm starting a school called Screen Arts Institute, which is all about kind of training people in the technology, because traditional institutions are just not able to keep pace. They take too long, basically, to get everything through. So yeah, let's start it off with Tanya. So quick question: what do you find is the biggest misconception filmmakers have when they consider virtual production?
That it's going to cost a lot of money, that it's something that they can't afford or can't be part of their budget, like right to the point of this, right? Like 7 years ago, nobody even knew what it was. And 6 years ago, people started watching The Mandalorian and were like, whoa, this is amazing, but obviously only something that Disney and ILM can do. And that's when we got started as a company, and we said, this is something that we can make accessible for everybody. And you do not need to sacrifice on quality in order to do that. But in order to make that dream come true, we needed to, as already mentioned, build it from scratch. We couldn't build on top of the things that already existed because that meant that there would be all of this extra weight, extra baggage that we would have to carry forward. And when we're thinking about something that is just meant for film, we could cut all of that back. And by cutting all of that back, we made it cheaper, we made it faster, and we made it accessible to a much larger group of people. So that's why most of our clients at the moment with the screen that we have is our commercials and indie projects and stuff like that. So that's my biggest misconception about virtual production is that it is out of reach. It's not out of reach. It's definitely something that can be approachable.
I would say it's moving budget items, not creating, some of the post-production things you'd spend on visual effects, so that you bring that up because it now becomes the background that's actually shot live. But it definitely doesn't increase budget line items.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jordan and I have talked about that quite extensively because a ton of stuff comes out of all of the rest of the places in your budget. Like you don't need to do unit moves if you're shooting all in one location because all of the locations are at your fingertips. You don't need to, and that's like the biggest thing I would say is like unit moves. And then unit moves means that potentially you don't need to have quite as much time required in order to be getting to all those locations. So it's time and unit moves that go together hand in hand that immediately bring down your budget, opening up that cash to be able to go towards some of the VFX, which is now pre-production VFX, that are going to go into your film.
What I find very exciting is as a writer, you don't have to worry about having just one line of dialogue in a scene, right? Because you can move so quickly, you can literally you can shoot 10 locations in one day, right? So you don't have to make sure to clump all of your scenes or moments together in one location because of budget, right? That'll open up a lot of creative possibilities, which is what I find very exciting.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be entirely in Hamilton.
Exactly.
It can be top of the CN Tower. It can be the top of Mount Fuji. It can be in a subway station. It can be on a subway that's moving. It can be on a subway that's moving through the outdoors or underground. Like all of these things are very possible, and people often drop those things. It gets cut out at the writing stage.
Exactly.
Because it's just too expensive to actually accomplish. Yeah. Well, that's not true anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I think people from the writer on are the ones that have to experience this, because once you experience it, it opens up possibilities that are very exciting. Jordan, I got a question for you. Do you find expectations on editors have changed at all given the tools that are now available?
Yes. And I don't know what kind of comes first in that thing. Like the idea, the definition of the word editor is different depending on who you talk to.
Interesting. For
me, I grew up, I came up into the industry with this idea that I'm an offline editor.
Right. Yeah.
And that's not even a term we use anymore.
Right.
There was offline editors, there's online editors, there's VisFX, there's motion graphics and all this. And that's, a lot of that is all going into one person now.
I know I asked you to do motion, but you're like, I'm just good enough to be dangerous at this. I'm like, I can't afford it. You have to do it.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of
that's often my tag is I know just enough to be dangerous with this stuff. It's interesting. I still try to coach, young editors coming up, in the industry to sort of stick with one thing. Like at the end of the day, I feel like the editor's role is storytelling. So get good at that and definitely learn about the other stuff. And if something is interesting to you, if motion graphics are interesting to you, if VisFX are interesting to you, like learn that as well. But, understand that that technology is always changing.
Right.
So what you can do next year is going to be different than what you can do this year anyway.
Yeah, which is what's kind of crazy about this moment, right? It's like you can't do that. Oh, now you can all of a sudden, and it's like not there yesterday, there today, which is a big deal.
So the foundation is story. Is my point, I guess.
Yes. No, that actually makes it. So like anyone coming up, if they kind of learn that or master that, everything is a different tool you can use, but it has to be in the function of that primarily.
I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense. And what about audio? Am I the only one that asks you to clean up the audio as much as you can?
Well, you have to know all this stuff to a certain level because, first of all, you have to sell your edit.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's something
So
that
true.
from the dawn of time you've had to do is you have to show somebody what you've done and it not take them out of it because you've got terrible sound in it, or why does it click every time I cut between
I can feel
this?
those edits. Yeah, exactly.
Know how to fix those things. So all those things are in your toolbox, but they all serve the storytelling at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, that leads nicely into Navin. So were you an editor that decided to direct or a director that decided to edit, or was it always both from the start?
I'd say editor first. When I graduated from university, I got a job at a production company in Windsor, Ontario, doing small sort of commercials, right? So I would go out we would go out and shoot them, and I'd come back and edit them. They're just little low budget spots that would play on like the TV listings channel and stuff like that. So that sort of segued me into directing because I was sort of thrown into it, right? And I'd volunteer on film sets as well at the same time, and all that got me into directing. But I was an editor first, so technical first. Editor, and I worked in camera department a little bit too. So kind of, jack of some trades, I guess, but editing truly helped me become, I think, a stronger director because I could shoot for the edit, and you're always pressed for time when you're on set. So, if I'm pressed for time, I know I need to get this shot and that shot, and it'll work in the edit, We'll cut that cool crane shot that I had planned, but whatever, So editor first and then directing, and then now I do both, I would say about 50-50.
Right.
And, because everything is becoming fast and quick and cheap, I'm also hired to DP sometimes. So, wearing different hats seems to be the theme nowadays. And not just with me, with post as well. And it's, at the end of the day, like Jordan mentioned, it is about the storytelling, right? That's never changed. I think that's always been the same. And now with sort of so much access to technology and everything at your fingertips, I think it's even more important to stand out with the storytelling. On top of all the tech and all that stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Rhys, it's really great to have your perspective because you help with the DGC in AI, and yet you come from a design background. Do you see a correlation? How has technology changed with production design?
Yeah, actually, so I have a bit of a unique situation where I came from the game industry.
Oh, cool.
So coming in from the game industry, my first job was working on The Expanse. And I brought with me the knowledge of that process and those technologies. So as you see, like a lot with virtual production and that, you tend to be using things like Unreal Engine and all of that as well. I also do a lot of concept art as well too. So things have shifted a little bit from, when I first started, concept art was basically just 2D. Now, most recently I did concept art for Now You See Me, Now You Don't. And that was a full Unreal Engine, like fly through for the director.
You built it?
So yes.
Wow,
in Unreal
that's
Engine.
crazy.
So there are a lot of tools, there are a lot of great tools for creatives to support previs and all the way up through production.
So that's incredibly cool. Do you recommend somebody who's interested in production design to learn something like Unreal? Because that seems like if you can do that, it's going to be hard to sell a 2D storyboard, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Any tool like that will certainly help sell the story. Sure.
Yeah. Because that like as a director, that would be just incredible. You could literally put the camera wherever you want and see what it's going to look like. It's hard to go backwards from that, I'm sure. Right. Is that a new position on the team?
So there are virtual production art departments, sort of things that are being formed, and depending on the size of the production, that might live with the VFX house, it might live with the art department and all that. But yeah, there are new roles popping up all the time for stuff like that.
Well, that's really interesting because what I love about Immersion Room, what they do is they do all of that. Because I wouldn't know how to hire that. I wouldn't know what assets would work well on the wall. I don't know any of that, right? But I know when they show me if I like it or not. And so there's a real. You have to start earlier than you would, but there's a real back and forth between. I guess, do you call it virtual art department? Is that?
Yeah, we call it the virtual production art, or
okay.
VP art, or VP artists is
VP
what
artists, okay.
the artists would be doing. Yeah, and we do like you mentioned, we become the virtual production department
Right.
in its entirety. So that includes where you're going to be physically, and also who's going to be with you on set, so that you've got your technical team sitting there ready to help if anything goes wrong. If there's any delays, we've got literally the people who made the technology there ready to help you get through whatever hiccup there might be. And as you mentioned, the art, so that you know the art is going to work well on the day and be flexible. So that's a really important thing for us, is that it behaves like another department on set. So it's not just you make something and you render out a video and that's what you've got. It's the lighting is happening in collaboration with your team on the day. Otherwise, you're not going to get the blend looking correct.
Exactly. What's actually amazing is I was surprised how kind of apprehensive a lot of the big brands were about virtual production. Like I thought they'd be risk takers. They're not. They're all very conservative. But we had someone from Toyota come out, and what sold him is we were shooting something for Samsung, and we didn't really like the background. And so I was going through it, and Mike, the co-CEO who runs this, like he was literally stretching out the background, changing the sun position, throwing a window over. He's like, "What don't you like?" And I'm like, "That's amazing." Like it seems like magic because it's happening in real life behind you, and you're looking through the camera, and it's like they're God, right? They're able to do anything. And I mean, for the last commercial I shot there, we had it at magic hour the entire day. Like the perfect time of magic hour, as long as we wanted. That was a real benefit, absolutely. So, why do you think it's being a little slower to adapt? And why are indie films? Is it that they have misconception about price? Because I want to do one, but I've been waiting for an indie film to really take advantage of the wall.
Why do I think it's slow to be picked up? I think that there has been a little bit of a learning curve about that it exists. So can I just like no judgment here. Does anybody in the room feel comfortable saying, I don't know what virtual production is? Yeah. Okay. Cool. So this is good, because 3 years ago it would have been most of the room. So virtual production is when you have virtual production can be a lot of things, but it is in-camera VFX. So you have an LED wall that is kind of behaving like your green screen, but all of your green screen is happening live. You track the location of the camera so that you can move it around. And as you're moving it around, the background is being rendered in real time using usually real-time game engines, as was already mentioned, to make sure that the camera always looks like it's in situ, like it is, you're getting that forced perspective gag that we've been using throughout time with like paintings and stuff like that. So that's step one. We need to make sure that everybody in Canada knows what it is. And then they need to know that, yes, you can use it. It's available. It's local. It's here. Most cities in Canada, most major cities in Canada have somebody who's doing it. And that it's possible to do it without breaking the bank. I'd say that those are the biggest things.
I remember when we met with Toyota, the head of the marketing was like, so hang on, are we shooting something or is it all virtual? So I'm not sure the name is helping actual virtual production, right? Yeah,
it's probably easier to call it in-camera VFX. I think that would be a better name.
Yeah.
In-camera VFX with an LED wall.
Yeah, that's a little bit long.
Yeah.
I have to say, for just working it into the sentence, it's a little bit long. But yeah, it's true. I feel like, Leah, what were they calling it at that conference you went to? XR. Right. That's the bigger package.
Yeah, we tried calling it XR for a little bit in our marketing materials, and nobody knew what the heck we were talking about. So we had to narrow it down, make it a little bit more pithy.
It's also been referred to as the AR wall. Augmented reality.
Interesting. It is kind of augmented reality in a sense. That's interesting. I always think of that as, Pokemon, really. That's my augmented reality experience. But I feel like all these tools are just be adopted, and I'm waiting for that. Maybe it's someone in this audience to do that really amazing use case where like, I didn't think of that. That's amazing. Like, wow, that's cool. And then we all kind of do that way. So yeah, so think about that if you can come up with something like that.
I think that one of the best case used for especially indie film is driving shots, because you never have to put
I was
a
going to
car on
say
the
exactly
street
that. Yeah.
anymore. You can do that all in the studio, any season, any location move.
It's the lowest hanging fruit, I
Yeah.
would say. It doesn't even really use the technology to its fullest. Like, you don't need to have 3D environments in order to do it. You just need to have your regular driving plates. So you can get your driving plates, or you can get somebody to shoot your driving plates specifically for what you're making, and it's very easy. So yeah, like you said, I find that people are more comfortable with that than with anything else because it's been around for so much longer.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah, I mean, I remember back in the old movies where they'd be projecting on a screen and someone would be shaking the car, right? I mean, which is awesome. No, I mean, when we shot one of the commercials, we had 3 seasons in one shot, not in one day, in one shot, right? With the background adjusting, 3 times, which is pretty cool. That wouldn't be possible otherwise.
Yeah, we just started doing 3D plates where we can loop it. So that way you don't have to worry about when the start and stop of the video is while you're shooting. You can just
awesome.
be in situ, or your actors can at least. Yeah.
No, that's a real advantage actually, because then you could just keep the moment going and try to find the right moment. No, I mean what it's amazing when you get there and you see the possibilities. It's really advantageous for a lot of these use cases, and I'm trying to make an independent film right now that would really take advantage of it, because I feel like it's not been totally done. Do you think one of the challenges is the kind of prep time that's not necessarily worked in for indie films?
So I did not work in indie film prior to working at Immersion Room. I come from a technology background, so I'm not really sure, to be honest. Like, why? Can we ask the audience, like, why haven't you used virtual production yet? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Even a $300,000 movie. Right.
No, it's still accessible. We shoot commercials that have like $100K of budget overall. So
Per minute, that's higher. Yes, but there's actually a use case where it'll save you money if you can do a number of locations. Instead of flying your crew down to Florida in the winter, you can shoot it there, and it will actually save you money. So it is a use case basis thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a like make awesome movie button. It's not going to flip the switch.
Right.
Also, remember to repeat the question.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is on our website. We are not trying to keep it secret. So the sticker price, and again, this is the sticker price. So like, come and talk to us, because there are ways that we can shift around our internal budgets to work with what you have. So that's important to know first. But sticker price for a full 3D day with entirely staffed and approximately 3 different scenes is $20K.
But that means the backgrounds are included in that. That's what I've done some checking around, and they're able to do so much because they're guaranteeing that's going to work, because they're with you the whole process. I don't work for them, and I don't make any money off them. I'm telling you, I just have some experience with it. There isn't like other things that go on top of that. So that is a big price. I'm sure if it goes more days, it can get lower than that. But they've always been able to make it work for me, at least.
Yeah, and then the prep day is half that. So yeah.
Yeah, and I'd say 1 prep day for 2 shoot days.
Yeah, it's probably good, especially if you're going to be blowing through a lot of different locations.
Yes.
That's just to make sure that everybody is kind of aware of what you want to do and how you're going to set up, and that's, yeah.
Yeah, from a logistics standpoint, they have a huge studio. I've had 3 cars in the studio at a time. And they, lunchroom, like all that stuff that's complicated and annoying for producers and production managers is kind of smoothed over, right? No worry about weather, nothing like that. Yes, of course.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am. I love you too.
I love that. That's great. That's a really good question. I'm just asking about some of the details because this is what, really is helpful when you're making your budget, right? It's like cross out all those lines, right? And now the food is not included, but of course lunchroom and all that wardrobe, they got a beautiful. It's really nice. Yeah. Right. Yes. Exactly. Exactly. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like these things are subject to a conversation about what you're actually trying to accomplish, obviously, right? Like 3 scenes is based off of our ability to pull assets from a number of different things in order to make what you want. If you want to make something that is totally original and that we're not allowed to use in any other context, like none of the things that we make can be used in other contexts, like that's going to get a little bit more expensive because the way that we make it that price is by reusing things and kit bashing things.
But they look totally different. Like what's amazing is you look at something in the Unreal Marketplace, I'm like, that just doesn't look good. They're like, no, you don't. And I've done it enough now where it's like it looks totally different when they light it and when they put it in the situation. Like it looks just amazing. The last one, I dare anyone to know we were shooting it in virtual production. It was, that's a great question. Do you have a question over here?
She started touching on about assets and I guess making something original. And so you guys have like a very vast library of assets to mix and match, and then you sort of sit there and build a background. Is that how that works?
There's also the Unreal Marketplace, which not all the assets work. You talk to that.
Yeah, so not all. Okay, so first to answer your question, yes, we have a big asset library, which means that we can give you, you tell us, oh, we're interested in a forest, and we can give you a whole bunch of different forests for you to be like, oh, I like this aspect and that aspect, and then we kit bash it together or what have you. So yes, we have a great big library, and we accumulate that library by building the assets ourselves and collecting them over time as they become on sale or as we use them for other projects and that sort of thing. There are also things that are on the Unreal Marketplace. If you're going to use something that's on the Unreal Marketplace, though, it doesn't necessarily, like you can't just go to the Unreal Marketplace and be like, that one, because we don't know if it's going to be able to work to our standard for on-the-day production needs. Like it needs to, no matter what you do, like if you go to somebody else and you get them to build your assets or you know how to build the assets, that doesn't mean the asset is done, right? Like we've got to bring it in and make sure that our virtual production team is going to be able to make it work with our technology to that standard.
Yeah, great questions, everyone. Just to pivot a little bit.
Sorry, if you have more questions, we can chat after.
Yeah, absolutely. So Jordan, what do you think of artificial intelligence in editing? Do you think there's a role for it? Do you think we should ignore it altogether? I mean, what's your position on that?
It's a big question.
Yeah,
and I sort of, there are more qualified people to talk about a lot of this than me. I sort of split off a lot of the chatter about AI and in the creative world goes into the generative AI sort of sphere. So I kind of break that apart from just the tool aspect of it. A lot of the work I've been doing is being more kind of in the documentary space. And in that way, we're using AI to organize hours of footage, to help transcribe and make searchable hours of interview, and to allow us to kind of interact with the assets that we have in a new way when we're building the film. So
that's huge. That could be really helpful.
I think that will be something that people do more and more of moving forward. I'm also I'm an AI skeptic a little bit. And I use it, but I think it's important to understand that a lot of these tools overpromise and underdeliver on what they say they can do.
Also, I feel like the fear mongering is almost a fundraising ploy a little bit. Like it's going to replace us all quick. You better invest. It's like it doesn't totally make sense. But Did they? Oh, nice. That's good. Yay. Not that I'm hoping for any downfall of anyone, but that would, I'm okay. I'm okay with the generative.
I mean, I've also run into problems on, I won't get into too many specifics about the show, but I was working on a show and they started using a temp AI VO in it.
Yeah.
And they ran into a few problems with tax credits.
Interesting.
Because, of course, that's replacing Canadian talent,
Yeah,
and the
yeah.
tax credits are based on Canadian talent. And then further ran into problems because this was a documentary series,
Yeah, yeah.
and they were using it to fill in some blanks.
Right.
And-
Oh, you mean they could write whatever they wanted them to say? Yeah.
and it
that's-
might be factually accurate,
Right.
but if the person didn't say it, then
Oh, yeah, it's
there's a
true.
problem
It's true.
there, so.
They didn't say it. Yeah. That's
And I
interesting.
mean, we've seen that. There's a documentary on Netflix that there was
Interesting.
that became a problem with.
Oh,
So
I
it's
didn't know
it's
that.
gone through the cracks.
Yeah. That's
But
interesting.
lawyers are on the lookout for that sort of stuff as well as
Toda said
accountants.
nothing that's generated by AI can be in any of the commercials. Like we had a temp thing for a while. We're like, don't worry, that's just temp. But they're like, well, get out of there. I don't want a temp. Which I think that's good. That obviously they're more worried about the rights than the creatives that are not working on it. But I think lawyers might help us in this fight. Actually, I mean, who would have thought they'd be our saving grace here? But certainly, I think that again, I separate the tools from kind of replacing humans, but something like previs or even organizing footage. I mean, there's the same adjustment of jobs when you went from cutting actually physically with film into what you do now. We lost the negative cutters, but there's a lot of other jobs that open up.
It's to be acknowledged though that jobs
Yeah.
are being lost.
Yeah, oh,
right?
yeah,
Like
absolutely, yeah. Oh, yeah.
work with an indie filmmaker who used there's a scene in their film where somebody looks at a phone
Yeah.
and there's an app on the phone that they use, and they just created that app using an AI prompt.
Yeah.
So it's on the phone physically, which is
Yeah.
nice for me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
once upon a time, they had to go to the art department
Yep,
for that.
absolutely.
And so that is a job.
Yep.
And I think there's a little bit of a line of thinking in the indie world or in the small budget world where you go, well, I can afford that anyway,
right.
but I'll get it done this other way.
Right.
But I don't know. It's just to be acknowledged.
Yeah.
I'm not,
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I see a world in which more content is made for like smaller audiences, but it's really what they want because you don't necessarily need this huge budget. So you don't have to make it so broad, right? You can hit just this narrow group that's going to love it a lot. I feel like that could be one of the results.
I mean, that's what the great thing about indie film world is.
yeah.
I mean, you talked before about making our stuff look bigger budget, and that's great. But I think there's a danger where you're making a small budget film and you think I'm going to make a Marvel movie for cheaper because that's just going to make a bad Marvel movie.
Exactly. That's saying that there are good. I mean, again, I'm not going to get into that. I won't get into that. I won't get into
to be debated.
Yeah, exactly.
But what you
True.
can do instead, and where it gets exciting, is when you can use these tools to make something that is more specific for your audience is smaller.
Yeah.
Your audience is more specific. It's it's a certain niche. It's a certain underserved demographic that you're making your film for.
Yeah.
Or you're telling you have a unique point of view that you're trying to get across. And if indie creators can work with tools that allow them to tell their story more efficiently or
Closer to their
in
vision.
a different way or a more exciting way, then
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Navin, are you using any kind of the new technology in your workflow currently?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, I can speak a little bit to the AI integration to our edit to post as well.
Yeah.
I can give you a good example and a bad example.
Great.
So the good one is before coming here today, I had to send out 30 versions of a commercial that I cut. right? And it's versioning in terms of all the aspect ratios, French, English, all that stuff. So it's the same commercial, but 30 different versions of it. So I needed to do it quick and accurately and get it out there. So, I used the transcription AI tool in Adobe Premiere, which is integrated with Adobe. It's not an extra plugin or anything like that. That transcribed it for me so I could do the captioning.
It's pretty good too, actually.
So that's something, speaking of, outsourcing or someone not getting paid to do the job, that is something I historically have done myself. So transcribing it, I would go to each sentence, type it down, and transcribe the whole 30-second spot or whatever. But this one, it did it for me. So it's not something that I would have hired someone to do anyways. It's always I've kept it internally. So it just makes my job quicker, right? So that's something that sort of helps me in my workflow. But on the flip side, I'm also editing a TV show, and there's B-roll footage that I needed from the VFX department. So I'm like, okay, I need, this farms, horses, chickens, stuff like that. So I need a little more cutaways. Give me some chickens, give me some cows, whatever. I'm expecting the unit to go out and shoot pickups when they were doing their pickup shots, but I get back a bunch of AI-generated chickens. And it looks horrible. It looks terrible. You know what I mean? And someone decided that was good enough. So if that's the direction we're going, it's horrible. But
AI slop everywhere. It's
slop. Exactly. So I'm in the process of pleading with them to not use those shots. But there's good and bad to it. And in terms of sort of tools that help us in production, I mean, a lot of the things that I work on now, I wouldn't have been able to do, 10, 15 years ago. I did a shoot with Jen. We shot County Blooms in a few different, in Ontario and in Quebec. It was a four-person crew, including Jen. And we just traveled, a small unit. I shot it. I directed a couple episodes. I had a second camera up. So a shoot like that is made possible because cameras and lighting and all your production tools are getting smaller and lighter and more nimble. I can
you can run things on batteries.
I mean, I'm seeing all these Sony cameras over here. Those FX9s and FX6 cameras are amazing. You can just shoot. I can be a one-man crew shooting an interview and not have to worry about focus anymore. Exactly. You know what I mean? So stuff like that does help, and I mean, I think just using them wisely, picking and choosing what you need to get the job done versus sort of forcing it into your workflow, I think is key.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think some of the pressure will come from budget, but I would love the pressure to come from creative people that want to try to get their vision out there in a different way or a way that might not be possible before. Can I ask you a question on behalf of the DGC? I don't know if you can answer that a little bit, but what is the DGC's, thinking or stance on AI? That's a big question, I know, but a little bit of it maybe.
Okay.
Thanks. That's good.
Ultimately the DGC's approach to AI tools and use, and it is very important to distinguish between generative AI and machine learning.
Right. Actually, maybe do you want to explain that a little bit? I don't.
Oh, sure. So generative
for people that don't know.
So generative AI means more like the large language models and the image generation as well that you see in like Midjourney and
who stole tools. Everyone's creations.
Yeah, the copyright infringement stuff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And then machine learning is something that we've had around for years and years. It's just basically Silicon Valley, and the tech companies have decided to umbrella everything into AI in order to confuse us.
Right. Okay. So machine learning is just training a machine.
With from various data points and all that. And there's some great machine learning tools and are very effective and don't violate copyright and all that sort of thing. So our goal is always for members first. So the AI tools should always empower members and not replace members. And that's essentially where our stance is. And as well too, we're also trying to work with the Canadian government and advise and reflect on things like copyright issues and empowering and protecting the creator.
Great. Well, that's the stance we can all get behind. I'm sure, very much. Do we have any other questions? I have no idea of the time. 12:45. Oh, perfect. Wow, that's nice. Any other questions? Anyone have anything they'd like to ask? Yeah.
Hey, I'm Warren. I'm Jen's wife. Husband. I'm Jen's husband. I'd love to be your wife too, honey.
Yeah.
I'm also
Say that for that.
I'm also the national president of the DGC, and the Banff summit just happened. The Guild was invited to actually be on a panel, which was fantastic because no other cultural guild or union was asked to be on one of the panels, which was especially important for us because there was 3 panels. One was build, empower, and protect. We were on the empower panel. And our message is very clear. Humans are the creators of culture. Human authorship resides in the writer and director. And that's it. That's our main line in the sand in terms of how we approach new technology, is there's always a creator attached to it, and that creator is a human.
Copyright Office actually just you heard about that?
Yes. So a lot's happening, and a lot of it is a little complicated because there's U.S. copyright law, and the U.S. Supreme Court actually denied. There's this one case that's going through about a picture that someone is trying to get a copyright, the copyright for an AI picture, and it's been denied. It went to appeal to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court wouldn't hear it, which is good, which means the U.S. copyright still addresses human copyright as the fundamental pillar, which is great. And in Canada, that is it resides with humans. The thing that's happening now. So we have a new minister of AI, and we're working with their office to get more of the cultural industries involved because it was first conceived as a technology component, and we weren't. So the Guild went to Ottawa. Myself and Sam Bischoff went to testify with the commission, advocating, consent, credit, and the 3 C's. Oh my God! Anyway, we advocated to make sure that the training that these models do compensates. Yes, consent, credit, compensation.
Wow.
That they keep saying it scrubs the data. We kept reminding them the data you're talking about is artistic works that our members and you all create, and there needs to be some sort of protection for that. And then finally, I know this is a very long-winded answer, but you asked a very complicated question. The out of Banff at the summit, the government has agreed to create a cultural industries AI committee or working group. We're looking very forward to seeing who's on it. Hopefully the Guild and other unions and other organizations are going to be part of it. And our advocation will always be for us, for the creators, for the authors, and for the DGC. The authors are the directors and the writers of a project. And just like everybody's saying up here, it is a tool, right? It should not be a vehicle for labor displacement, and it should. The guardrails need to be placed now because it's moving too fast. So that's the from the front lines. That's
that's
the word.
great. Thank you, Yorke. Wow, that's great. That's great. That's good to hear. I feel like the government, is a slow-moving vehicle, and hopefully this task force will be equipped to move faster than they have to because we know how fast everything's moving. And it feels to me, at least, that the AI companies are just like, we'll try this. They're throwing it all at it. And I don't think we can trust them to police themselves as much as they want that.
Yeah. Was anybody at CMPA's conference primetime? Yeah. I just want to say that from that.
Rivalry crime time.
Yeah,
oh my
exactly.
God. Oh my God. So we got a surprise visit from our prime minister, and it was repeated over and over again that they are really interested in developing culture and understanding that, the people in the room right now, you are the people who are developing Canadian culture, and that is about storytelling.
Yeah.
It's about that ownership, that telling Canadian stories, or just having Canadians who tell stories and stuff like that. So I got the impression at the time that because culture has become part of our defense strategy.
Right. That's interesting.
That things might move faster than they have in the past. So that's
really interesting.
That was just my impression.
Yeah. Just to unpack that a little bit. You mean right now, because of kind of the bit of the tensions between the U.S. and Canada, culture is forming part of our what we're trying to turn to.
Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't want to say that we're just another state.
Right. Oh yeah.
You know,
yeah.
like we want a big part of our identity is that we are not
right. But that's
unfortunately, but developing more on that is
Yeah.
really important. Yeah.
I think that's what has always kind of rubbed me a little bit the wrong way. Is we identify so much as not being that, but what are we? Let's have a vision to move towards, not just away from. And I understand.
Yeah,
why that's
exactly.
the case.
Exactly. And I think that that's what they were trying to get at, and making it part of the defense strategy again puts it very important. Like, it's not just about economics and becoming economically independent. It's also about becoming culturally independent.
Right, which is huge. And that it's so, it feels like there was a missed opportunity back in the, I don't know if anyone remembers SCTV days when we were making this really kind of cutting edge comedy, but then it seemed like we took our foot off the gas and we're like, no, you guys take the mantle with you're pushing the boundaries and edgy stuff. But I feel like we can do that. We, as a country, we could, especially with comedies, we don't need to play as safe as the US because of their corporate interests and all that. I think, I'd probably preaching to the choir a little bit. But,
I think that's probably why Heated Rivalry was so popular at the conference. Is, it was constantly like, only in Canada could this have been made, and that got repeated so many times, right?
Which is great. That's what we should be doing. That's what we should. I mean, I remember when the first Degrassi came out, it was more edgy than American television, and that's what made it cool, and that's why they were so interested in it. But then again, something happened where it's like, whoa, let's pull it back a little. That's too successful. We don't want to. We might hurt their feelings or something. And so we pulled back and we let all the cool edgy TV, well, not all of it, but a lot of it be made south of the border. And I feel like we need to take that back a little bit. Yeah. Anyone agree? Yeah. All right. Good. Yeah. Excellent. Any other questions in the room? Yeah.
I was curious about the virtual production house that you're kind of talking about. Are there any limitations in terms of it? Like, I'm thinking about, like, you're talking about how it's very accessible and stuff like that. Like, it almost feels too good to be true that everything's just readily available. And I was wondering, like, is there a learning curve along that maybe, which comes from, like, maybe more emerging filmmakers?
Great question.
Yeah, really good question. Yeah, it is absolutely not a make awesome movie button. Jurassic Park came out in the 90s and everybody was like, VFX, post-production, we'll solve all the things. No, it's still a tool. You still have to use it in ways that make sense. Some really obvious ones are technical ones where you cannot focus on the wall. You cannot shoot your focus out into infinity with a wall there because there is no infinity there. And what happens if you try to do that is you get something called the screen door effect, where the pixels line up with your camera's pixels and you get like this jittering effect. So that's something that we just warn the cinematographers about. If you want to do that, there are ways around it. Tilt the camera ever so slightly and now they won't line up anymore. Or we can put up a green patch and we can, that's something that can be done in post, or, a number of different things. So it's a thing to take into consideration. It's a physical issue with the camera and the wall.
Yeah. You also don't want to light the wall, right?
Yes.
The wall is light. Like, you put some light on the wall, it doesn't look very good. So that's a learning thing people have to experience.
Yeah, sometimes people ask us why we don't have an LED floor, and the answer is because we're going for photoreal, and you can't have shadows if the light is coming up.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the camera is putting out light. The blackest black that you can get on that screen is the color of the LED off.
Yeah.
So if you light it becomes that color, and you wash out all of your blacks, and you lose the diegetic lighting from your background while doing that. So that's another really great one. Yeah. Another thing is that this is kind of a tip as well as a limitation, but if you want to move fast, shoot above the knee.
Yeah.
Because if you need to dress the floor to match the background, then that takes time. Mm-hmm. So if you need to move fast and do it as cheap as possible, then plan to have as many above the knee shots as possible, because then you can make something like we could do this setup super easily, all you need to have that's physical are the things that people are actually touching that are going to be on screen. So as soon as you show shoes, that's going to be something that you have to take into consideration.
Yeah, that's a good. And one thing that I think I found helpful is just like with green screen, the foreground elements are really key to tie in the background and the foreground. So if you can have some elements that are in both the foreground and background, or that can really help. But what's amazing, I don't know if I can make this promise. What's amazing is like you can literally bring something in. Let's say we're doing a coffee shop, and I brought this in the morning of. Probably they would prefer it in advance, of course, but the morning of.
Please bring it on your prep day.
They can scan it. And put 30 of them on the screen. I mean, maybe not snap of fingers, but that's what's amazing. They can literally scan it, and now you see them all back there. And now it ties together because you got foreground and background elements. So that's what's pretty amazing. But I always bring it on the prep day. I never last minute bring it to you, of course.
No, Jordan would never, never do that to us. What was I going to say? Yeah, so going off of that, another aspect, this is a tip, not a limitation, but if you build your foreground in a way that creates layers, then you lend the reality of your foreground, whether that be people or objects or what have you, you lend that reality to your background. So if we had, if we had us sitting here like this, and then you had some background actors who are walking by, and then they're interacting with things that are not real, that are in the background, then they lend that. So you create layers, and that makes it easier to make it that much more realistic.
Yeah, I have a commercial that we could show, but I think that might be too complicated, Jen. Yeah, it's too complicated. I'm happy to share a link. But what was cool about it is we had, as I mentioned, we shot at magic hour for the whole day, and so the sun is actually on the wall, right? So you're getting a lot of the light from the wall, and because it's actually light, the shadows will line up because you're actually lighting it from that, which is really really effective. One thing though is when you're showing a soccer field, we did need to build it up a good amount because you're trying to hide the seam where the wall meets the floor, and so by building it up, it gives you some distance for the wall to light it. But it was pretty, in the end, pretty seamless. Jordan, quick question: as an editor, was that the first thing you've cut in virtual production?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. As far as I'm aware, it was, yes. I mean, it's interesting because we've now have these virtual production walls, which just as like technology for green screens has gotten to the point where like my phone can rip a key way better than I can.
It's true.
So it's interesting. I mean, from an editor's point of view, I feel like the more I can see when we're cutting, the better. The less I have to imagine.
I mean, as a director, it's like the most amazing thing. Like there's no previs. You can see it. It's visual. It's right there. What it looks like will look like in the camera.
Yeah.
So it's easier from your perspective in that.
For sure. And I don't have to worry about I'm going to do something that they can't key properly.
Yeah,
later,
exactly. Reflections or all that stuff. Yeah, that's awesome. That's excellent. Please. Oh yeah, sir. Please.
Just in terms of like using like virtual production and volume wall, what about if I have like really heavy like SPFX, so like heavy weather, heavy water, something exploding.
You don't want it in the background, that you want in the foreground.
No, I want it in the foreground.
Yeah.
I have two people, and let's say like a pipe breaks on them on top of them in the scene or something.
Cool. Yeah. So depending on how big your explosions are, we are inside a building, so it's
big studio though.
Yeah. So there can be restrictions there, but that being said, there are also things that can be done as a blend between the foreground and the background. So, for example, we had a barbecue commercial where the barbecue needed to become out of control, and we were able to do that as kind of a combination of what's going on in the background and what's going on in the foreground. We do have the ability to do smoke and fire and all of those things indoor. It's a collaboration between us and the building to make sure that the fire department doesn't get called. But we are in a studio complex, so they're expecting shit like that, you know?
More specifically, water. I find
Right.
that water
Yeah.
ends up being like the tricky effect.
Interesting.
Like,
Okay.
electricity.
Right.
All of these.
Yeah.
Ruining things, ruining actors. I need real water on actors.
Yeah, no worries. So yes, you can do water in a virtual production studio. The biggest thing is that the water needs to be distilled water, because
Oh, interesting.
if you're using distilled water, then there's no additional gunk in there that's going to end up sitting between LEDs and stuff like that
interesting.
after the fact. Like when it dries, it will dry clean. And also that's what insurance is for. That's what insurance is for.
You don't want to do it right next to the wall, but you don't want to do anything right next to the wall anyway. So
Yeah,
as long
like,
as you have some distance.
We've done rain and we've done snow, but that's fake snow. But we've done rain and we've done like a pool before. And other houses have also done pools and stuff before, where you put like a canoe in a pool
nice.
and then you have it extend out into the screen and stuff like
that's
that.
pretty
So like
cool.
it's definitely doable. It's just logistics.
Yeah.
Yep. Star Trek Strange New Worlds, we did a lot of practical inside that as well. And then, but a lot of this stuff was also like post as well too. So you can definitely get away with an action style storytelling.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
there's no reason why a pipe can't fall.
Yeah.
Like it's the same logistics as in any indoor studio space.
Yeah, the wall doesn't doesn't provide specific issues other than, distilled water and
Yeah, I mean the wall is made of LED panels. If we need to remove a panel so you can put a hot spot like a light in there, or if you need to remove some of the panels in order to be able to put grip and rigging in to support your stunts, that's also fine.
Yeah. Pretty cool, actually. Yeah. It looked like very much like the Truman Show to me when they popped out, because like the world, and then you popped out this to put this on there. That was kind of cool, I thought. Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah. Well, hopefully we can continue that. Any other questions? I feel like, yes. Okay, great. Thanks, Jen.
This is about evolving tools and stuff
Great.
like that. Like I run an audio post production company, and a lot of the interns that I got from school don't really know anything.
Yeah, that's true.
And it's surprising, but at the same time understandable. Like I spend about an hour every morning reading through blogs and new articles about new technologies and stuff. A lot of the institutions have like very firm, structured education in place with theory that's already been in place for a while. So like, how do you get people? Like, what resources do you provide people with to educate themselves? Because a lot of this technology is new and evolving daily. There's a lot of these questions that people don't even know what questions to ask.
Right.
So like, how they inform themselves, maybe better preparing themselves for their productions before they come to you, any of you, about what is possible, what isn't possible. So how do all of you stay informed?
That's a great question. In fact, our first, we just launched Screen Arts Institute, and our first course is virtual production for commercials. And it's launching in May with the immersion room. So I mean, that's, and the reason we wanted to do that is because there's such a great use case for commercials. I just feel like part of it is the education and experience, and you'll leave with actually having something that you shot on a wall for your portfolio so you can demonstrate it. You don't just talk about it, which I think is really helpful. But yeah, we looked at going the ministry route, and it takes 2 to 3 years to get a program approved. And so that means if it's a year-long program, you're 3 years out of date when you graduate, and that's unacceptable. So we're doing it outside the system because the system doesn't work for how quickly things are moving, at least currently. So yeah, good question. Anything anyone want to say, please?
I would say, as far as staying on top of stuff, like, so as an editor, when I first learned to edit, it was on something called Media 100 that nobody uses anymore. And then I learned Avid, and then I was working on Avid for many years. Along came Final Cut. I had to learn that. And, I think you have to, anybody who's coming up into the industry needs to remain curious about new tools always. Just try them out. Push yourself to learn something. Sometimes I will use a project to learn something because I feel like for example, I got hired by a place who once upon a time who and I was an Avid editor, and they said, well, can you cut on Final Cut? And then I just lied and said yes. And then you just figure it out as you go, because you need a project sometimes to learn the new tool.
And I think the idea of like going to school, done school, now you just work. That's done, right? It's like work, school, learn, work, learn. I think they have to be much more attached because of the way things are going.
It's also something I think that's a little bit lost now that there's so many people working from home is you have to talk to other people in your field and see what they're interested in, what's exciting to them, and what maybe they've worked on that you might be working on next.
It's great. It's a good point. Yeah, please.
So for virtual production in particular, we do open tours that are roughly an hour long. They involve conversations like this, but it also involves like 30-ish to 45 minutes of us just talking heads and showing you examples and moving stuff around so that you can see how it's working live and be thinking about it as you're watching in order to really get a feel for it in your gut. We do that open tour. It's like, I'll call it a crash course, like VP 101 crash course, 1 hour.
That's where I started. That's where you should start. It's the first thing you do, for sure.
Yeah, so we do that roughly monthly, or we used to. It's kind of like we stick it in around other projects that are happening within the studio. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, then reach out to contact@emergentroom.com because those are things that are ongoing and we can get you scheduled in to do that kind of thing as like a first introduction to VP, in addition to this, obviously. And then another thing that we do is, because we're a mission-driven company, and our mission is to make virtual production accessible to more filmmakers than ever before. And that involves building the technology to actually do what it's supposed to do, to deliver on the promise of what virtual production is actually supposed to do, and so that you do not need to reskill. So the reason that we provide the art is because you can't walk, like if you just rented a studio, you're not necessarily going to know how to use it, right? Like you don't want to walk in and be like, well, now what? Especially if you're spending a lot of money on it. So the art needs to be there. It needs to work. It needs to, do what it's supposed to do. And in order to do this, we provide the art, but we also have our in-person team, and our in-person team always includes, if you're doing a full VP day, it always includes a stage operator or stage technician who is going to make sure that all of the technology is working on the day, and a virtual production artist whose job it is to manage all of the things that are going on the screen, all of the art, and a virtual production supervisor. So that person is somebody who usually come from another area in film.
It was called DOVP for a little while, but we don't like that name anymore.
It doesn't matter. The point is that their job is to speak the language of the creative team and also speak the language of virtual production. So they hang out with the creative team, with the director and the cinematographer on set, and they're on headset with us in the behind the desk, so that they can make sure that we're staying on top of what your needs are, and you're aware of anything that needs to be happening. So because of that, we try and make it as easy as possible for you to be able to walk in as a cinematographer, as a producer, as a what have you, and be able to pick up this new tool and run with it.
Shout out to Justin, who's their virtual production supervisor. He's amazing. He's done, like, as a DP, he's done like 10 features, but he speaks both languages. So thank God, we'd have to learn a whole nother language if we were going to communicate with the virtual art department, and he does that, and he's brilliant. I just have to say, he's awesome.
Yeah, we have a really great team. I love my team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks again, Jordan, Tanya, Navin, and Rhys for giving us some great insights on how a little can go a very long way. And special thanks to Screen Arts Institution for helping us put this conversation, our sponsors xoTO and the City of Toronto, and IATSE Local 58 for making this conversation possible. Cheers and Chats was produced by Jen Pogue, Ashley Rains, and Bern Euler for Canadian Film Fest. Music by Brett Higgins. This episode is co-produced, edited, and sound mixed by Ryan Gordon. For more info on the fun happening now at CFF, find us at canfilmfest.ca.